Hi, all right. Hi, everyone. It's me, Sailor Earth. Ernest here. Or Ernest P. Worrell here. Scratch my nose. And today you can see that we're outside making a film in our yard again. Well, today's film is about how did I become Sailor Earth, or how was it when I got on the sailor fighter team? Well, I haven't been a sailor fighter all that long. I've only been a sailor fighter since 2009 YL. Well, since 2008 YL. So I haven't been a sailor fighter that long. Not as long as the outer sailor fighters or even the inner sailor fighters. Some of them can say they've been sailor fighters way longer than me. Now, my saga of one day having a shape-shifting stick, or a shifting stick, whatever you want to call it, and taking that and then learning that in my past life I was kingly, that I was Aldeling Earth, which was the grand overseer of the sailor fighters in the past, which is a rank up from the team leader, but underneath the Aldeling of the moon and underneath the Queen of the Moon. After learning about that shit, I was then out fighting evil. Yeah, like Sailor V, only I called myself Sailor E. I didn't call myself Sailor E, but that's what others called me that. And yes, I like to say that I met many foes, but mostly it was dealing with some of my old foes in the past, like Felix Nash, who I fought in the past. When he fought, I learned about my whole getting lighted up, gave me the might where wakefulness no longer seemed to hold on me. And then every steel thing would get stuck to me if it was made out of steel, so there was a downside to that. Or my dealings with, Transfer to Troll, understanding how that went. So, yeah. So, I had dealings with many of my old foes in the past and beaten them with weird ways that I just did not know at the time. Or when I was fighting, Crater himself, who wanted to take over the sleepaway settling business, known as Kikiki, and his golden shot not harming me. Now, after I became Sailor Earth, Sailor E, I then knew I had to go to Dawnland. And I like to say, a lot of folks like to say, oh, but Sailor Venus, Sailor V, Sailor Hellisfield fought a lot of Sin and Misty in the 4-1 Kingdom before she came to Dawnland. But that wasn't so true with me. Once I became Sailor Earth, my calling was to get to Dawnland. And once I did get there, well, I got there and I helped my friends out of a bind. You see, Mephistopheles, who was the first Wicker of the Kingdom of Hell at the time, had played a stunt on all my friends to get them to go to some kind of fun fair. Let's call it Dreamland, or let's call it Ben 10 Land, and Sailor Moon's world. And I ended up coming in and helping them. And at the time, no one knew who the 6th inner sailor fighter was going to be. And it was a struck to know that I was a man sailor fighter. But then if you stop to think of it, that wasn't really too far from the truth anyway. We already had the Sailor Starlights, and they were men, so that wasn't too striking. And after I helped them out, after I met, I like to say that Serena and Amy and Ray and Lita and Mina and Rini later on and Darian, I like to say we all became good friends. I like to say I'm also friends with Amara, Michelle, and Trista and Ataru and Calvin. You might know him as Snoop Dogg. Anyway, a lot of folks out there might also wonder, why did it take me so long to awaken than all the other sailor fighters? Well, I don't know. No one really seems to know. you know. And I am aware that there are some in the Sailor Moon followership who who some of them who are against your old friend Ernest P. Worrell being Sailor Earth, under the grounds that, oh, it goes against the oversight set by Naiko Takaguchi or Takenshi, however she came up with the oversight, that only girls or women can be sailor fighters, and everyone is so, on that. But there were some in a Sailor Moon followership that were open-minded enough that they didn't really have to follow that oversight. My foot's itching. And I can't hold this for long. Now my arm's aching. So, hopefully that's a film talking about how I was welcomed into the Sailor Moon and to the Sailor Fighters, with open arms. Haha, yeah, I was. Now, there were some downsides that I got, and I know someone out there before I end this film is going to say, oh, well, you're just knocking off Mina. You're just knocking off Sailor Venus, Sailor V, Sailor Hellas World. If I was fully knocking her off, which I am not, I would have, there would have been film games made out of me. Which there are no film games of me. If I'm not a knockoff of her at all. Yes, I kind of borrowed some things from her, like being called Sailor E instead of, as we're short for Sailor Earth. But keep in mind, I didn't come up with that name. That was what some other folks came up for me instead. And yes, I did come in to help my fellow sailor fighters out of a bind, like she did. So, anyway, that's all the time I got. Like this film, share it, playlist it, and I'll see you later.